What's at stake in the future of the state of Israel is Jewish life everywhere. Not just the 6 million, which is a pretty chilling number. Not just the 6 million Jews who happen to live in Israel and 1 million additional citizens of all different sorts, 7 million people altogether. Not just them. But the 6 million or 5 million or 4 million, whatever Jews it is, in the United States of America, and the Jews of Australia, and the Jews of France, and the Jews of England, and the 10,000 Jews who were left in Poland. There were 400,000, as you know, before. There were 4 million before the war. All of them, wherever they live the kind of lives that they live because the Jewish state has them carry their heads different. So I would say that when we think about the question of what should we do to protect the Jewish state, and we hear the social justice movement speaking with tremendous dignity and with tremendous passion, and by the way, evoking quite rightly the views of the prophets that a society that's not moral and a society that's not just is not a society that is worth continuing. We need to understand that what we're trying to create is not any old liberal just society. It can't look like the United States of America, and it can't look like Australia, and it can't look like any other country that you might want to pick. It can't, because the minute that it does that, the minute it is what you might call ethnic neutral, the minute it is peoplehood neutral, the minute it is nation neutral, it has no reason for being in business. What I said before about feeling homesick because no one's jostled me or pushed me or cursed or whatever, that's only partly kidding. It's largely true, in the sense that it's not an easy place to live. And you're surrounded by water on all sides. It's a pretty glorious bracha. No, I'm serious. Serious, we have very little water. And as you know, even those waters are highly contested. No, we're surrounded by something very, very different. And you have vast expanses that are unpopulated. For us, it's very hard to go to a place where you don't see a building, where you're not on top of somebody else. And the few places that we have that are like the Golan, like the Jordan River Valley, are the places that people are expecting us to walk out of one of these days anyway. Let us understand that we are not in the same business. And I'll leave Australia out of it again, because for me to speak to you about Australia is absurd. But I'll speak about America. America is built on ethically neutral principles: life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, unlimited opportunity, equality, etc. Doesn't matter if you're Chinese or Irish or German or Italian or Jewish or Catholic or Protestant or Buddhist or Muslim. It makes no difference whatsoever. You buy into those values, make yourself part of that society, you are part and parcel of that. Nobody belongs more than anybody else. Israel is not in that business. Israel is not in the business of being one more decent liberal society. It's not worth it. The price is too high. If you'd see the white, literally the white faces of mothers, mostly, as their sons go back to the army on Sunday after coming home for the occasional Shabbat, you understand that the terror that resides just below the surface of that society is sufficiently palpable that if all we're trying to create is a decent liberal society, there's no point. We ought to divide up the 6 million Jews and send 1 million to America and a couple 100,000 here and a few 100,000 there, and we get rid of all of them somehow. We put them all in certain places where life would basically be good. Who needs it? It's not worth it. The only reason it's worth it is because we're doing something different. Because we are changing the existential condition of the Jew, which means that the conversation about how to protect the state and how to maintain it and how to guarantee its safety cannot be the same kind of conversation that you have about any other decent civil society. We are in different businesses. Hard sometimes to accept, especially when either as Americans or Australians we're used to a multicultural society in which everyone is equally welcome, which is an extraordinarily important model in the world, but not the only model. And I say that as an American who comes from a very similar kind of a country in that regard. It's not the only model, which I'll come back to in a second. But as we are having a conversation about the need to defend Israel against its moral ills, let's remember we are not talking about a country that is in the same business as the business of this great country or the business of the United States or any other civil liberal society across the world. It's a different point. The point is the revitalization of the Jewish people.